In a small, idyllic town nestled in the heart of the American Midwest, named Riverdale, an air of tranquility usually hung over the place. The neatly lined rows of houses, with their picket fences and well-manicured lawns, gave an impression of a peaceful and prosperous community. But all of that was about to change that it started on a seemingly ordinary Monday morning. The local news reported strange occurrences around the world, power outages in major cities, mysterious weather phenomena, and a sudden spike in global temperatures. At first, the residents of Riverdale paid little heed. They went about their daily lives. Kids headed to school, adults to work, and the elderly sat on their porches, sipping coffee. However, as the week progressed, the situation deteriorated rapidly. The power grid in Riverdale began to flicker. Grocery store shelves started to empty as people panicked and stocked up on essentials. Drive Emily Thompson, a local scientist who worked at the nearby research institute, was one of the first to realize the gravity of the situation. She had been monitoring the data coming in from her global network of sensors and was alarmed by what she saw. These aren't just random events, she told the town's mayor, John Harrison, in a private meeting. There's a pattern, and it's leading towards a catastrophic event. I estimate we have about 10 days before before everything could fall apart. Mayor Harrison, a stout man with a thick mustache and a no-nonsense attitude, initially dismissed her concerns, but as more and more strange things happened in Riverdale, the town's water supply became contaminated, and a group of wild animals, usually docile, started acting aggressively. He began to take her words seriously. The town sheriff, Mike Johnson, was tasked with maintaining order. He found himself facing a growing sense of unrest among the population. People were arguing in the streets, looting was starting to occur, and there was a general air of fear and distrust. Amidst the chaos, rumors began to spread about an old, abandoned mansion on the outskirts of town. Locals whispered that the mansion, known as Ravenswood Manor, had been the site of dark experiments in the past. It was said to be haunted, and its very presence seemed to cast a shadow over the town. Some believed that the strange happenings in Riverdale were linked to the secrets hidden within the manor's walls. On the 5th day, a strange fog rolled into Riverdale. It was thick, almost impenetrable, and had an eerie yellowish tint. The streetlights barely penetrated it, and visibility dropped to almost zero. Those who ventured out into the fog reported hearing strange noises, whispers, groans, and what sounded like distant screams. Emily, determined to find a solution, locked herself in her laboratory. That she was working day and night, running complex simulations on her supercomputer. She was convinced that there was a way to reverse the impending disaster, but time was running out. On the 7th day, the town's communication systems completely failed. Cell phones stopped working, landlines went dead, and the internet became a thing of the past. Riverdale was now cut off from the rest of the world, left to face whatever was coming on its own. That same day, a group of curious locals, led by a young journalist named Tom, decided to explore Ravenswood Manor. They believed that the answers to Riverdale's problems might lie within that. As they entered the dilapidated mansion, a sense of foreboding filled the air. The creaking floorboards, cobweb-filled corners, and strange symbols on the walls added to the mystery. Inside, they found a hidden room filled with old scientific equipment and a series of journals. The journals, written by a long, deceased scientist, seemed to hint at a connection between the manor and the global upheaval. The scientist had been conducting experiments on energy manipulation, and it appeared that his work had somehow triggered the current crisis. The following day, a group of armed men, rumored to be from a neighboring town that had already descended into chaos, arrived at the outskirts of Riverdale. Sheriff Johnson and his deputies were forced to set up roadblocks to prevent them from entering. A tense standoff ensued, with the townspeople fearing an all-out attack. Meanwhile, Emily was struggling to make sense of the new information Tom and his group had brought back from the manor. She realized that the energy manipulation experiments in the mansion were intertwined with the global disaster. Finally, on the 9th day, Emily had a breakthrough. She discovered a way to redirect the energy that was causing the global upheaval, using the old equipment in the manor as a key component. She quickly informed Mayor Harrison and Sheriff Johnson. Together, they rallied the remaining able-bodied townspeople. They worked through the night, setting up a series of generators and complex machinery in the town square. Integrating the technology from Ravenswood Manor, following Emily's instructions that as the clock struck midnight on the 10th day, they activated the device. At first, nothing seemed to happen. The town was still engulfed in darkness, and the air was thick with tension. But then, slowly, the fog began to lift. The strange noises ceased, and a faint glimmer of hope appeared in the eyes of the townspeople that as the sun rose on the new day, Riverdale seemed to come back to life. The power started to come back on, the water supply cleared, and the wildlife returned to its normal behavior. The people of Riverdale had faced the 10-day threat and emerged victorious. Stronger and more united than ever before, with the secrets of Ravenswood Manor now a part of their history. Just as the town of Riverdale began to breathe a sigh of relief, a dusty old pickup truck rumbled into town. Out stepped a tall, rugged man with a weather-beaten face and a backpack slung over his shoulder. His name was Jack, a self-proclaimed traveler who had been on the road for years, witnessing the strange events unfold across the country. Jack made his way to the town square, where the townspeople were still celebrating their new-found hope. He watched for a while, taking in the scene, before approaching a small group of people. "I heard what happened here," he said, his voice rough but friendly. "I might have some information that could help you keep this from happening again." Intrigued, the townspeople quickly gathered around him. Emily, who had been overseeing the clean-up efforts, pushed her way through the crowd. "What kind of information?" she asked, her eyes narrowing in suspicion. Jack reached into his backpack and pulled out a tattered notebook. "I've been keeping track of these strange occurrences. I've traveled from one end of the country to the other, and I've noticed some patterns that might be related to what you've been through." He opened the notebook, revealing pages filled with scribbled notes, maps, and diagrams. As he began to explain, it became clear that the global upheaval was not just a random event. There were forces at play, both natural and man-made, that had been building up for years. Jack had evidence of secret experiments in other towns, similar to the ones that had taken place in Ravenswood Manor. Mayor Harrison and Sheriff Johnson joined the group, listening intently. "If what you're saying is true," Mayor Harrison said, "we need to act quickly. We can't let Riverdale or any other town go through this again." Jack nodded. "I've been working on a theory. I think there are key locations around the world, like this town, that are connected in a way. If we can find these locations and neutralize the sources of the energy disruption, we might be able to prevent future disasters." With Jack's help, the townspeople of Riverdale set out on a new mission. They formed search parties to look for any remaining signs of the energy manipulation experiments in and around the town. Jack, with his knowledge of the terrain and his experience in dealing with such strange events, led one of the groups that as they explored the outskirts of Riverdale, they came across an old, hidden bunker that no one in the town had known about. Inside, they found more advanced scientific equipment and a series of encrypted files. It took Emily and her team of scientists days to decrypt the files, but when they did, they discovered a shocking truth. The files revealed that a powerful corporation had been behind the global upheaval, conducting experiments to gain control over a new form of energy. Riverdale had been an unwilling test site. With this new information, Jack, Emily, and the townspeople knew they had to act fast. They had to expose the corporation and stop their plans before it was too late. Together, they prepared to leave Riverdale and embark on a journey across the country. Following the trail of clues Jack had gathered, the people of Riverdale, once again facing an uncertain future, were determined to protect not only their own town, but the entire world from the threat that loomed over them that as they loaded up their vehicles with supplies and weapons. They knew that the true test of their strength and unity was yet to come that, as the initial relief in Riverdale began to settle, an unexpected visitor arrived in town. His name was Professor Henry Blackwood, a renowned archaeologist with a penchant for the mysterious. He had heard rumors about the strange events that had transpired in Riverdale and, more intriguingly, about the old Ravenswood Manor on the outskirts. Professor Blackwood sought an audience with Mayor Harrison. "I believe the manor could hold the key to understanding not only what happened here, but also what might be coming next," he said, his eyes glinting with excitement behind his deep glasses. That Mayor Harrison, still cautious after the recent chaos, was hesitant at first, But the professor's reputation and the promise of new insights convinced him to allow a small expedition to the manor. Led by the professor himself, with Emily Thompson and Sheriff Johnson accompanying him, the group set out on a cloudy morning. As they approached the dilapidated mansion, the air seemed to grow colder, and an oppressive silence hung over the place. The front gate creaked ominously as Sheriff Johnson pushed it open. The manor's facade was covered in ivy, and the windows were boarded up, giving it a foreboding appearance. Inside, the entry hall was filled with dust and cobwebs. The once grand staircase was now rickety, and the portraits on the walls seemed to watch their every move. Professor Blackwood immediately noticed strange symbols engraved on the floor. "These aren't just random markings," he exclaimed. "They belong to an ancient language that was used in occult practices. It's possible that the previous owners of this manor were involved in something far more sinister than we thought." As they made their way deeper into the house, they came across a hidden door. It was cleverly concealed behind a bookshelf, and only a close inspection revealed a small, ornate keyhole. Sheriff Johnson managed to force the door open after a few tries. Inside was a room filled with strange artifacts, crystal balls, ancient scrolls, and strange contraptions that none of them could identify. Emily, being a scientist, was immediately drawn to a large, circular device in the center of the room. It was covered in dials and wires, and at its core was a glowing, blue hue crystal. This could be related to the energy manipulation that caused the global upheaval, she speculated. Professor Blackwood agreed, adding, "There are references in ancient texts to devices that could control the very fabric of reality. This might be one of them." Just as they were about to examine the device more closely, they heard a loud creaking noise from above. Sheriff Johnson quickly drew his gun, and the group tensed. A figure emerged from the shadows on the second-floor landing. It was an old man, his clothes tattered, and his eyes wild. "You shouldn't be here," he croaked. "The secrets of this place are not meant to be uncovered." The old man, who introduced himself as Jeremiah, had been the caretaker of the manor for decades. He had witnessed the experiments that took place in the house years ago. According to Jeremiah, the previous owner, a wealthy and eccentric scientist, had been obsessed with unlocking the power of ancient energies. His experiments had accidentally opened the rift, causing the strange events that had recently plagued Riverdale. As they listened to Jeremiah's story, they realized that the threat might not be over. The device in the room could potentially be used to either seal the rift permanently or, if misused, cause even greater chaos. With time running out, they had to decide how to handle this new found knowledge and the powerful artifact in their midst. As Riverdale basked in the afterglow of its narrow escape from the brink of disaster, the sense of normalcy was short-lived. One sunny afternoon, a young delivery boy named Ben, making his rounds through the town, noticed something amiss at the outskirts. A strange, pulsating light seemed to emanate from the direction of Ravenswood Manor, the old, abandoned mansion that had been at the center of the recent chaos. Ben, filled with curiosity, decided to investigate that. As he approached the manor, the air grew colder, and a faint, eerie hum filled his ears. He pushed open the creaky front gate and made his way up the overgrown path. The once imposing mansion now loomed before him, its windows dark and foreboding. Inside, Ben found the place in disarray, just as it had been left after the previous exploration. But as he moved deeper into the house, he stumbled upon a hidden door that had been overlooked before. The door was small and made of a strange, black-colored wood, inscribed with symbols that seemed to glow faintly in the dim light. Unable to resist, Ben pushed the door open. What he saw inside left him breathless. The room was filled with ancient artifacts, some of which emitted a soft, otherworldly light. In the center of the room was a large, ornate box, covered in intricate carvings. Ben approached the box cautiously and, with trembling hands, opened it. When they entered the mansion, they found that the strange lights and the eerie hum were even more intense. As they made their way to the room where Ben had found the scroll, they noticed that the artifacts were arranged in a pattern, as if they were part of a larger, ancient ritual. When they entered the mansion, they found that the strange lights and the eerie hum were even more intense. As they made their way to the room where Ben had found the scroll, they noticed that the artifacts were arranged in a pattern, as if they were part of a larger, ancient ritual. Suddenly, the door behind them slammed shut, trapping them inside. The lights from the artifacts began to flash wildly, and a deep, rumbling sound filled the room that Emily calmly realizing that they were in the middle of a dangerous situation, frantically searched for a way to stop the ritual that as the group struggled to find a solution, they heard a voice, faint at first, but growing louder. It was the voice of an ancient spirit, trapped within the manor for centuries. The spirit explained that the curse had been placed by a powerful, evil sorcerer who had wanted to gain control over the world. The recent events were a result of the sorcerer's minions trying to revive him. With this new information, the group knew they had to act quickly. They had to find a way to break the curse and prevent the sorcerer from returning. As the clock ticked and the situation grew more desperate, they began to search for clues within the room, hoping to find a way to save Riverdale from the impending doom. As Riverdale settled back into a semblance of normalcy, a sleek black car pulled up at the town's only diner. Out stepped a woman, her long, raven-colored hair blowing in the wind. Her name was Drive. Lily Thompson, and she carried an air of both confidence and urgency. Lily made her way inside the diner, her eyes scanning the room. She spotted Sheriff Mike Johnson sitting at the counter, sipping coffee. Without hesitation, she walked over and sat down next to him. "Sheriff Johnson," she said, her voice firm. "I'm looking for Emily Thompson. I believe she's my sister." Sheriff Johnson nearly choked on his coffee. He stared at the woman in disbelief. "Emily never mentioned having a sister," he replied, his eyes narrowing in suspicion. Lily sighed and reached into her bag, pulling out a worn-out photo that was a picture of a young Emily and a younger Lily, smiling brightly. "We were separated when we were kids. I've been looking for her ever since. When I heard about the events that happened here, I knew I had to come." Sheriff Johnson took the photo and examined it closely. There was no denying the resemblance. "Emily's at the research institute. I can take you there." At the institute, Emily was poring over data, still trying to make sense of the energy fluctuations that had caused the recent chaos. When Sheriff Johnson entered with Lily, Emily froze. She stared at the woman, her eyes wide with shock. "Lily," she whispered, her voice barely audible. Tears welled up in Lily's eyes as she nodded. "It's me. I finally found you." The sisters embraced, their emotions overwhelming. After a few moments, Emily pulled back, her curiosity getting the better of her. "How did you find me? And why now?" Lily took a deep breath. "I'm a scientist, just like you. I've been working on a project related to the strange energy patterns that have been occurring around the world. When I heard about what happened in Riverdale, I knew it was connected. I believe there's more to this than just a random global upheaval. There are forces at play, powerful entities that are trying to control this energy." Emily listened intently, her mind racing. "What kind of entities?" she asked. Lily leaned in, her voice dropping to a whisper. "Ancient cults, common and dark cults that have been around for centuries, waiting for the right moment to seize power. They believe that by controlling the energy, they can reshape the world in their image." As the sisters talked, Sheriff Johnson realized that the threat to Riverdale might not be over after all. Lily's arrival had brought with it a new, more sinister mystery. He knew that he had to work with the Thompson sisters to uncover the truth and protect the town from whatever was coming next. With Lily's knowledge and Emily's expertise, they began to piece together the puzzle. They discovered that there were other towns, just like Riverdale, that had experienced similar strange events, and at the center of it all was an ancient artifact, a powerful relic that was said to have the power to control the very fabric of reality. As they delved deeper into the mystery, they realized that the cults were closing in. They had to act quickly if they wanted to stop them from getting their hands on the artifact and plunging the world into chaos once again. Just as Riverdale was savoring its hard-won victory, a series of unsettling events began to unfold once again. A young resident named Tommy, while exploring the forest on the outskirts of town, stumbled upon a strange symbol carved into a large tree. The symbol was intricate, with swirling lines and a central, glowing orb at its core. Tommy, intrigued, took a photo of the symbol and showed it to his friends at school. Word quickly spread, and soon, the symbol became the talk of the town. That Drive. Emily Thompson, still on high alert after the recent global upheaval, heard about the symbol and decided to investigate. She gathered a team of experts, including archaeologists and historians, to analyze the strange marking. After days of research, they discovered that the symbol was part of an ancient language, one that had been long forgotten. The symbol, they learned, was a warning, a harbinger of an even greater disaster to come. As if on cue, the town's power grid started to malfunction again. This time, the outages were more frequent and lasted longer. The water supply, which had just returned to normal, began to show signs of contamination once more. The townspeople, who had only recently regained their sense of security, were thrown back into a state of panic. Mayor Harrison called an emergency meeting. "We thought we had overcome the worst," he said, his voice heavy with worry. "But it seems that we were wrong. We need to act quickly to find out what's causing these new problems." Sheriff Mike Johnson, who had been on edge since the first signs of trouble, increased patrols around the town. He was determined to prevent any looting or violence from breaking out. Meanwhile, Emily and her team dove deeper into the mystery of the ancient symbol. One evening, as Emily was working late in her laboratory, she received a strange message. It was an encrypted email from an unknown sender. With the help of her colleagues, she managed to decrypt the message. The email contained a warning about a powerful, secret organization that was behind the recent events. The organization, known as the Eclipse Society, had been working in the shadows for centuries, manipulating global events to achieve their own sinister goals. The message also revealed that the Eclipse Society had been monitoring Riverdale closely. They saw the town's recent victory as a threat to their plans. Now, they were preparing to launch a final, devastating attack to eliminate any opposition. Emily immediately informed Mayor Harrison and Sheriff Johnson. The three of them knew that they had to act quickly to protect Riverdale. They called for a town-wide meeting, where they shared the information with the residents. The townspeople, although scared, were determined to fight back. Over the next few days, Riverdale transformed into a fortress. The residents fortified their homes, stocked up on supplies, and prepared for the impending attack. Emily and her team worked around the clock to find a way to counter the Eclipse Society's plans. They studied ancient texts, searched for clues in the town's history, and even reached out to experts from around the world. Finally, after days of intense research, Emily made a breakthrough. She discovered a way to disrupt the Eclipse Society's energy manipulation technology. It was a risky plan, but it was their only hope. As the deadline for the Eclipse Society's attack approached, the tension in Riverdale reached a boiling point. The townspeople waited, with bated breath, for the battle to begin. When the fateful day arrived, Riverdale was ready. They had faced the 10-day threat once before and emerged victorious. Now, they were determined to do it again, no matter what the cost. Despite the initial victory over the 10-day threat, a lingering sense of unease hung over Riverdale. Emily Thompson, still haunted by the events, couldn't shake the feeling that there was more to the story. She believed that the cause of the global upheaval was no accident, and decided to launch an investigation to uncover the truth. Emily started by visiting the local library. Poring over old newspapers and records, she was looking for any mention of similar strange occurrences in the past. There, she met a young history buff named Alex. Alex had been researching the town's history for a school project and was intrigued by Emily's story. "I've read about some old happenings in Riverdale's past," Alex said, his eyes lighting up. There were rumors of strange experiments in an old mansion on the outskirts. Maybe it's related. Emily's interest was piqued. She knew about the Ravenswood Manor, but she hadn't considered its connection to the recent events. She invited Alex to join her in the investigation, and he eagerly agreed. Next summer, Emily reached out to Sheriff Mike Johnson. "Sheriff, I think there's a conspiracy behind what happened. We need to find out who or what is responsible," she told him. Sheriff Johnson, who had been dealing with the aftermath of the chaos, nodded. "I've had my suspicions too. I'll assign some of my deputies to help. Deputy Sarah Martinez is really good at digging up information. She can be part of your team." Deputy Martinez, a tough, as-nails woman with a sharp mind, joined the group. The team's first stop was Ravenswood Manor. As they entered the dilapidated mansion, a chill ran down their spines. The air was thick with dust, and the creaking floorboards added to the eerie atmosphere. Inside, they split up to search for clues. Alex found an old journal hidden in a dusty bookshelf. The journal was filled with cryptic notes about energy experiments and strange symbols. This could be a breakthrough, he exclaimed, showing the journal to Emily. Meanwhile, Deputy Martinez was examining the walls of the mansion. She noticed some faint markings that seemed to be some sort of code. I think this is related to the symbols in the journal, she said that as they continued their search, they realized that they needed more expertise. Emily remembered a former colleague, Drive Marcus Green, who was an expert in ancient languages. She called him up, and after explaining the situation, Drive Dog Green agreed to come to Riverdale. With Drive Dog Green on board, the team set toward deciphering the symbols and the code. They spent hours in Emily's laboratory, analyzing the clues. Slowly but surely, they began to piece together a picture of a shadowy organization that had been conducting secret experiments. Experiments that had somehow led to the recent global upheaval. The team knew that they were onto something big, but they also knew that they were in over their heads. The shadowy organization was powerful and dangerous, and they had to be careful. As they continued their investigation, they prepared themselves for whatever they might uncover, knowing that the fate of Riverdale, and perhaps the world, depended on their success. As the team delved deeper into the cryptic symbols and codes, Drive Dog Green made a startling discovery. These symbols, he announced, his voice laced with urgency, they're not just ancient markings. They're part of a complex communication system used by a long-forgotten cult. I've only seen fragments of this in the most obscure texts, but the implications ... They're staggering. The journal Alex had found provided more pieces to the puzzle. Scrolled among the pages were accounts of experiments that aimed to tap into a source of energy far beyond human understanding. The cult, it seemed, believed that by harnessing this energy, they could reshape the world according to their will. Emily's mind raced. If this cult is still active, and they're behind the recent global upheaval, we need to find out what they're operating from. There must be some clue in here about their base or their next move. Deputy Martinez, who had been cross-referencing the information with police databases, spoke up. I've found something. There have been reports of strange activity in an old industrial area on the other side of town. Unexplained power surges, and some residents had seen people in old robes coming and going at odd hours. The team wasted no time. They geared up, packing whatever tools and weapons they thought might be necessary. As they made their way to the industrial area, a sense of foreboding filled the air. The sky was overcast, and a light drizzle had started to fall, adding to the gloomy atmosphere. When they arrived, the abandoned factories and warehouses loomed like silent giants. The team split into smaller groups to cover more ground. Emily, Alex, and Drive Dog Green headed towards a large, dilapidated building at the center of the complex. As they entered, they were hit with a strong, musty smell. Inside, the place was filled with strange machinery. Some of it was clearly old, but other parts seemed to be state of the art. A bizarre mix of ancient and modern technology. Alex stumbled upon a series of blueprints, which showed a detailed plan for a massive energy-focusing device. This is it, Emily said, her eyes wide with realization. This must be how they're controlling the energy. But where's the power source? Just then, they heard a loud noise from the upper floor. Sheriff Johnson and Deputy Martinez, who had entered through a different entrance, called out over the radio, "We've found something. There's a hidden room up here, and it's filled with ... something." The rest of the team rushed to join them. When they entered the room, they were met with a sight that took their breath away. In the center of the room was a large, glowing crystal pulsating with a strange, blue light. Around it, there were more symbols engraved on the floor, forming a complex pattern. Drive Dog Green examined the symbols. This is a ritual circle. They're using the crystal to channel the energy for their experiments. And if they're not careful, or if they're planning to use it for malicious purposes, the consequences could be catastrophic. As they were trying to figure out their next move, they heard footsteps approaching. A group of people, dressed in the odd robes Deputy Martinez had mentioned, emerged from the shadows. Their faces were hidden behind masks, but their eyes were filled with a cold, fanatical glint. The leader of the group stepped forward. "You should not have come here. You have no idea what you're dealing with. This power is not meant for the likes of you." Emily stepped forward bravely. "We know what you're doing, and we won't let you destroy the world. Whatever your plans are, They end here. With that, the town stand, often sued, and the team from Riverdale prepared to face the cold head-on, knowing that the fate of not just that town, but the entire world hung in the balance.